are listening to the War Rapport.
B, you got it lined up for us. What are we looking at here? Okay, this is our offense versus LSU's defense. So,
Okay.
Jack, what we tend to do is we tend to just kind of talk the matchups. Who do you like on your side of the field? We talk about some of the guys that we're expecting, what we expect to happen, who we need to be looking out for, and then some. But just a little bit of information about the LSU defense. LSU's defense currently is third in the SEC in total defense, 12th nationally, 6th in the SEC in scoring defense, which is 16th nationally, 7th in the SEC in rush defense, and which is 39th nationally. They're led by linebacker Harold Perkins, who leads the team in tackles, but they're second in the SEC in pass yards allowed, which ranks 8th nationally. So pretty decent defense here.
Yeah. No, I think probably the biggest surprise for this team has just been how good the defense has been, because you have so many transfers. I look at this. Colby Richardson, the corner to the right, that's a transfer. Greg Brooks, who you have at the star position, that's a transfer. Bernard Converse, the other corner, also a transfer. Mason Smith, he's number 0 right there. He got injured on the first drive of the season. He was probably our best player on defense. He's out for the season. He got injured first, like the 5th play of the season, something like that. But Mekhi Wingo stepped in for him, also a transfer from Missouri. And he's graded out as the highest PFF graded defensive player in the country. So a lot of guys, you didn't know what they were going to look like as transfers, have all stepped in and have played really good football. Then there's been another guy, Harold Perkins, is a true freshman who he was, I think, 5th overall player in the country. And he stepped in the last 2 games. He's had some really good games rushing the passer. So a lot of surprises. I kind of didn't think this defense was going to be all that. But the last 2 games, this defense has looked like they're not elite, but they're a great defense.
Matt House is your defensive coordinator.
That's right.
What's your read on him in terms of his type of defense? Is it more of an attacking defense? Is it bend but don't break, keep things in front of him? What's kind of the identity of LSU's defense?
I think that's kind of hard to pin down right now because we had the Florida State game, which was just a lot of sloppy mistakes. So it was hard to really figure out what he was trying to do. We had a lot of missed tackles and things like that. And then against Mississippi State, they run that air raid offense. So I don't think any defensive coordinator is going to run out their normal stuff against Mississippi State. Although that for the majority of that game, we did play a lot of bend, don't break kind of style. Very similar to, not very similar, but pretty similar to what we had with Dave Aranda a few years ago. I think it is a little bend, don't break. I think we don't send huge blitz packages or anything like that, and I kind of don't think against this Auburn team that we're going to really have to. That y'all got a lot of injuries on the offensive line. Am I right?
Yeah. Offensive line. I mean, even like since I created this graphic, I think this offensive line has been shuffled again. So
yeah.
You got 2 centers out. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, our starting center didn't even make the season to begin with. The backup center got hurt in the last game, so we're down to our 3rd string center, who is actually we might be swapping to our 4th string center.
Brandon Council at left guard is going to start at center. This week.
And so that means that we'll have likely Keandre Jones in at the left guard spot. So yeah, this graphic is even outdated now since they had the presser Monday. So.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to come on here and just
speak the truth, man. It's
too much about this Auburn offensive line, but
that's what you're here for, man.
I'm genuinely, I'm trying to figure out a way where this defensive front 7 doesn't just absolutely destroy Auburn's offensive line, and I don't see how it happens.
Hey, listen, man, you're here to talk from your perspective. I'm not upset at that, but listen, it is not. I don't think it's a secret to anybody here in the chat that we've had offensive line struggles this season.
Right.
And I know that there are a couple of guys along your offensive front, BJ Ojolari, Ali Gay, and then what's the guy's name? The linebacker who he played a lot versus Mississippi State, but hadn't been in the starting rotation. I cannot think of his name.
Are you talking about Harold Perkins, number 40?
No, he's a more senior guy.
Baskerville.
Baskerville's
23.
another pass rush specialist that they can line up and get out there and get after the passer. So, I mean, our offensive front is going to have their hands full with a lot of good speed rushers from LSU.
Savon Jones too. Also, Savion. He leads. I think he leads y'all in sacks. I believe, right? 2.5. I believe
he might. I think there's a few guys that are up there. I think there's just a couple guys that have like around 2.5. No one has like 4 sacks through 4 games or anything like that. But it's been, by committee almost. Like against Mississippi State, I think we had 4 sacks. And Savion Jones, he's been a guy who's been around for a few years. And everyone kind of, I think, just assumed that he wasn't going to break you hadn't heard much about him in camp, anything like that. He didn't really play too much. And then he just kind of popped up in the Southern game and then got a lot of play in the Mississippi State game and got a sack in that game. So yeah, we're loaded. I mean, we're just completely loaded in the front.
Well, there are at least 4 top 100 players on this defense.
Yeah.
LSU has recruited well over the last few years for sure. And I think is it Gay? Gay is like a top 20 player. 19th nationally, according to the 247. Is that right?
Yeah, I think he was a transfer portal guy. I think he came from like JUCO or something like that.
Right. And Roy as well too. Like, I mean, they're loaded. I mean, this is a lot of talent here.
Almost a 5-star. Mason Smith, who got hurt, was a 5-star.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all the more reason why LSU needed a change in the offseason. Talent was not the issue with this team. They had a ton of talent every season, but they just had not been able to put it together on the field. So needed to get something in there to get people in shape. So expect a better LSU team defensively, because last year that was really, I won't say the biggest problem, but they had a huge problem getting stopped, specifically in the run game over the last 2 seasons at LSU.
For sure. I think things got shored up defensively at the end of last year, and a lot of people wanted Durante Jones to stick around. That was our defensive coordinator. Ultimately, Brian Kelly decided that he wanted to just completely clear ship and get his own guys, which is, fair enough. And Matt House has been really good, so can't complain. But end of last year, the defense did step up a good bit, which was huge because you ended up getting a lot of those guys to not transfer out.
Right. You're getting a lot of production too from your secondary. You mentioned Richardson, who was a transfer, but your second leading tackle, I believe, at this point is Jay Ward, who's a safety. It seems like he's flying all over the ball. Talk to about the secondary real quick, because I know this is something that Auburn fans are looking to do, is just to see the pass game open up. But what kind of secondary are we looking at with LSU?
Yeah, the secondary has been easily the biggest surprise. That was maybe my biggest question mark in the offseason. Just you have Bernard Converse, Richardson over here, and then the third corner, who actually is a starter now, Mekhi Gardner, also a transfer. So all of our corners are transfers. And then the safeties are the only spot I felt good about, with Jay Ward, Major Burns. And then Greg Brooks was a starter for Arkansas, so I felt good about him too. They moved in the past 2 games. They moved Jay Ward down to, he still plays a lot of safety, but he also plays a good bit of nickel now. Him and Greg Brooks kind of shift a little bit. They both play close to the line of scrimmage, and that's, I think, a big reason why Jay Ward has been making so many tackles, making a lot of plays, not just down the field, but also close to the line of scrimmage. Jay Ward's been great. He's so fast. He's just rangy, good instincts kind of guy. He's a senior. And then Major Burns has been, he had a lot of coverage busts and just mistakes last year, missed tackles. But he's been, so far this year, he's been very solid.
All right. Listen, we get it. LSU's good. But I'm going to give my boys some love here, because going up against your guys, who used to be your guys, our guy, Coy Moore. And he did an interview with us. He did a building rapport interview with us, where Ike asked him something not hot takey, and he turned it into a hot take.
Okay.
And he said, Kayshon Boutte is good, but I'm better than him. For sure.
Did he say that?
That's a quote.
Right,
Coy Moore said that for sure.
Now, when you say something 2 times in a row, you really mean it. He said, for sure, I'm better than him. And I said, okay, we'd love to see that on the field. Now, he's shown flashes of the talent that he flashed. And LSU has recruited so well. We were saying in the offseason, it's not a stretch that a guy who couldn't see the field at LSU could come into Auburn and be a star at that same position. But we're looking forward to seeing him. I expect this wide receiver rotation to shake up quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see Shedrick Jackson on the bench. I also would not be surprised to see Jay Fair get some burn in this one as well, too. So they're going to do some different things at wide receiver. I would go as far to say that whatever tape LSU had on Auburn offensively, you could probably throw it out for this one. It doesn't matter.
Just personnel wise or what?
I think everything. They're going to have to rip up what they've attempted to do so far. I mean, just from the fact that they potentially were running a very similar offense with Robbie Ashford at quarterback that they were running with TJ Finley, and they are completely different types of. I mean, it would be like trying. Which, to be fair, that kind of is what they're trying to do at LSU, is they're trying to turn Jaden Daniels into a pocket passer, and he's a more athletic type of quarterback.
Right.
He's kind of refusing to do it. Like, he's just like not analyzing stuff downfield, and he's like, all right, it's not open, I'm gonna take off running. But I think you all have a better offensive line that allows him the opportunity to do that a little bit more. Which
is a surprise because we all thought our offensive line was going to be really bad.
And we'll definitely get into you all's offense in just a minute. I think we've come to the realization our offensive line isn't going to hold up like that. And so we're going to have to do some different things offensively in order to be effective.
Yeah. So I would go as far as to say bye-bye 12, a lot of the 12 personnel.
That's what I was going to ask you, Mike.
Yeah. And you're going to see something different. Now we talked to the program and the players. They seem excited about the game plan this week. It's going to feature some different guys. There's some talent. There's been a feeling at Auburn that the coaches have been prioritizing experience over talent. And now with how everybody's talking, there's nothing to lose, man. Get the dogs on the field. So you could see something different. Now, Robbie Ashford is getting the start here. This is his team.
Yeah.
I'll say it again for the people in the back. This is his team. He's not looking over his shoulder. Unless that shoulder is hurt, he's running this team, and they're putting in a version of this offense that makes more sense for his skill set. So it should be fun to watch. Honestly, it's either going to improve this offense, or it's going to be a disaster. Which you could argue it's been a disaster to date anyway.
It's either going to be the same, just a different kind of disaster. We're going to go from a car wreck to I don't know, hurricane, but it's still.
But just the acknowledgement by the coaches, really after Missouri, that the O-line is something that you have to game plan around, right? So running tank up the middle isn't going to work with this O-line at all. They've got a game plan. They've got to find different ways to get guys the ball. And if there's any creativity, if there's any ingenuity in any of that playbook that they have, you should see it Saturday. So I think it's either going to look improved or it's going to continue to be a disaster. I don't see how it can get much worse. So I'm going with improved on it.